Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back from the ad break. You are still watching Prime Live. My next interview or conversation is with Clyde Terry, and he's joining us via Zoom. And we will be speaking about, and I mean, he's an antique enthusiast, and we'll be speaking about something fun for vintage collectors and antique enthusiasts. And he's going to be what do you call this, talking to us about the exhibition that's actually coming up in Rosebank, that's going to have over 70 exhibitors offering a wide range of treasures from vintage Louis Vuitton handbags to bespoke creations. And this antique fair is a haven for those who love all things retro, and it's also one of a kind. Now, this is a conversation that I'm looking forward to. So let's jump right into it. Thank you so much, Clyde, for joining us, and welcome to Prime Live. Please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Shane, thank you so much for walking me through this Zoom meeting. It's been quite a challenge for me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We really appreciate your presence. Now, I'm just going to jump right into it. With such an extensive selection of vendors and products that are going to be at this antique fair, what kind of items are you most excited to showcase for the shoppers?
Sorry, I lost you there. I think you asked what are the most exciting items. This month we have an incredible pair of Chinese vases that date
Mm-hmm.
back to this early 1700s, which is quite spectacular. We also have a very early Dutch Bible that is really quite extraordinary to come and see. At that point in the history, a Bible was all handwritten and all the diagrams within the Bible were hand drawn. So it's quite a fantastic piece.
Mm.
And I see you showing the Versace dinner set because that will be at the Antique Fair this weekend as well at the fairs. So yes, there's some incredible pieces that will be there.
Mm.
I think the item I'm most excited to see that one of the dealers told me about is the pair of Chinese vases, because I think they're going to be quite spectacular to have a good look at, and to just manage to handle something like that and see it without it being in a museum is quite a privilege, really.
Mm. Looking at the visuals on the screens, I mean, these look so amazing. I mean, I'm getting excited myself because I'm a lover of antiques, and these type of things, they're very nice. So for viewers at home that are watching, and for people that are also into the same kind of things, what is the price range in terms of all of these beautiful things?
Look, we are an antique dealers association, so we make sure that there are things from a couple of £100 up into the thousands. So whatever it is that you have to spend, you are going to find something at the antique fair that can start a collection or that you can add to a collection. So you will find things from a couple of £100, and obviously you'll find things in the thousands of rands,
Mm.
because beautiful, very beautiful things always come at an investment price.
Mm.
And obviously antiques is quite a loose term these days, because antiques is generally 100 years or older.
Mm.
And our antique fair is really an antique and collectors fair. So collectors embrace everything from the uh, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. That's not necessarily antique, but in years to come it will be. So that's a very good area for young people to start investing in, that period of antiques.
Mm. And in terms of, let's talk about the quality of the items. How do you ensure that you meet the perfect quality, especially for those people that are collectors? How do you ensure that they are happy? And in terms of quality, how does that process go in terms of you making sure that everything meets the standards of the collectors?
Well, look, we are all members of the National Antique Dealers Association and of the South African Antique Dealers Association.
Mm.
And some of our jewelry dealers are members of JASA, which is the Jewelry Association. So, in view of that, because some of our members are members of three, two, or one association, we do vet the fair on that level that you can buy with confidence. I always say to people, find out from the dealer exactly what you're buying. Ask the dealer the correct questions. Has the piece of porcelain been restored? Is there anything that they know that they would like to declare about the item? Because having done that, you've done a little bit of homework from your side, and make sure that you get an invoice from the dealer that details everything that the dealer's told you that you're buying.
Hmm. And let's talk about your experience in organizing the fair. I mean, I know you've definitely came across so many different types of antiques and different types of things that people collect. What has been the most unique that you've come across?
Well, a good few years ago, there was quite an incredible pair of Ming Dynasty vases at the fair, which were quite spectacular, with two giant Ming Dynasty food dogs as well. These are things that honestly you might never get a chance to see again in the antique industry here in South Africa. There's also been a very rare Cape Dutch clock at the fair with movements of Table Mountain and I think it was Volrad Voltamada. I'm not very good at that Afrikaans word, so please forgive me. But the clock had this automated scene across the top that was quite spectacular. There's also been a beautiful Trechikov still life at the fair, which was quite spectacular to see. And one of my favorite pieces, funny enough, was a very small piece of Cape silver, and that was a Cape silver nutmeg grater. That was just quite spectacular. Very hard to find nutmeg graters, and especially from the Cape silver period of our history.
Mm. And now, before I let you go, with so many exciting items that we're also seeing on display on our screens, for someone that's also interested to get into the whole world of, attending such fairs and getting into antiques, or someone that's already in it, but it's their first time attending yours, what would be the, what do you call this, a must-have item that you would recommend for a first-time attendee?
Well, look, I always found a must have quite an interesting question because to me, a must have is almost like the term. I don't know if you know the term nunu in your life. And a nunu in your life is something that really pulls at your heartstrings, and it reminds you of something from your past, and it's something that you have to have. So, quite often, I believe that collecting antiques is really a passion driven thing, and it has to come from somewhere very dear in your life. And those places are sometimes quite sweet. I remember a few years ago, we had somebody at the antique fair who walked past and they saw a set of four Beswick ducks on one of the tables, you know, and it just took her back to when she was 6 or 7 in her mother's home, and she started a collection. So that's what I'm saying. It's almost like something that pulls at your heartstrings that makes you want to collect. Recently, for me, that was a Cartier watch that I saw at the antique fair that I'd been um, passionately yearning for many, many years. And suddenly it was there, and suddenly there was no choice but to buy it. So, these are the things that I think make you into a collector. And an antique fair is a great ground, it's a great place to come to because it's not really like any museum in the world where you're just going to be able to look at the items through glass doors or glass windows. You're going to be able to ask the dealer, you're going to be able to look at the item, you're going to be able to ask the dealer, how do they know it's from 1901 if that's what they've said the piece of silver is. You're going to be able to ask, how do they know the maker is William Cummins? You're going to be able to ask lots of relevant questions, and that way, that's really sets an antique fair aside from most places you're going to go to, because you have that opportunity to speak to a trader with a huge amount of knowledge that has traded for many, many years, and you're going to be able to ask them, how do they know that this is what they say it is. And in that, you have a unique learning ground for you as a first time buyer to come into a world to see something that you love. Last month we had a young guy. I think he's 9 years old at the antique fair at the Furs in Rosebank, and he started his collection in a very strange way. He was with his gran, and his gran collects Swarovski crystal, and he asked his grand if he could have, I think it's uh, the one of the Titanic. And his grand said to him, "Well, when you get distinctions this year, the Titanic is yours." Well, as he calls it, the boat figurine. Well, that year he really worked hard, and his grand had to part with the Titanic later on in the year. And in this way, this young boy at the age of 7, he's now 9, started quite a phenomenal collection of Swarovski. Most of his collection is all out of production pieces, and he has close to 110 pieces, I think, now. And that's what I love about the antique world. You know, he started to collect from a very strange place, and now his parents, he earns quite a lot of pocket money, and then his parents help him find a piece and he pays with it from his pocket money. And it's a very special story to me because, yeah, we have a young kid in this uh, changing world that we're living in who's found something quite beautiful that's beautiful to him, and he started to collect.
That is so beautiful. And in terms of, attending the fair itself, are there any tickets that are being sold? If yes, please give us all the information so that the viewers that are watching right now can know exactly how to gain access to these tickets.
The beauty of the fairs, antique fairs, it's totally for free. It's
Mm.
um, the fair has been known as the Santon Antique Fair and has been in existence for close on 48 years. As of this year, it's relocated to the first shopping center in Rosebank, which is in Beerman Avenue, and it is totally for free. It's on the first level within the mall. You're only going to end up paying for your parking on the day. And if you want to join any one of the phenomenal restaurants that are in the fairs and have coffee or lunch or whatever, that's your choice. But to visit the antique fair, there's no fee whatsoever. If you love what you see and you want to be invited to more antique fairs, you can always subscribe to an email newsletter while at the fair, and then you'll get a monthly reminder to come to the fairs.
That's amazing. That's actually good for viewers that are watching at home to know that it's actually free to attend. However, do bring a wallet because you will need to buy some things. So, thank you so much, Mr. Clyde, for joining us today and for sharing all the information.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and please come on Sunday and visit if you're free.
Thank you so much. I'll definitely try. I'm a lover of antiques, so and it's not far. So Rosebank is still around the areas. So we will definitely try to avail ourselves.
We hope to see you there. Thank you for the opportunity. Have a
Thank you.
lovely evening.
You too. Thank you so much. Viewers at home, that was such an amazing interview that I just had with Mr. Clyde Terry, all about antiques and, the one that's coming up in Rosebank. So make sure you do actually attend and show them some support. And if you are someone that's into it, I mean, you don't even need convincing at this point. But without wasting any time, let's go to a quick ad break. When we come back, we still have more for you. So stay tuned.